when I was in military school, that's where I ran into a campus crusader of all things, came on the campus. I mean, I was, imitating my brother, and I was saying, God, if there is a God, out there in the universe, where are you? And a campus crusade teenager who's an evangelist, 1 year older than me, comes onto the campus, and guards that are placed at sentry points on a military campus had to have been blinded to his coming because he walked right past them and stood outside my barracks. I'm praying, God, if there is a God, reveal yourself to me. Now, having been, frankly, in the Catholic Church with my mom, Episcopal Church with my dad, and a heathen in high school, I wasn't thinking about Christianity. I was actually thinking of extraterrestrials. I'm serious. I was kind of like wanting to have I'm thinking maybe if there's intelligence in the universe, you can hear me sending the signal, come reveal yourself to me. It's like Close Encounter stuff. This guy's standing outside my barracks, middle of winter. I go, how'd you get on here? Long hair, jeans. I go, oh my gosh, you're a civilian. How'd you get here? He goes, well, I just walked on here. You just walked on here? I said, well, you're going to have to walk your butt off. I said, you're actually in a military campus. He goes, yeah. He's there evangelizing. I said, what do you do? I said, what in the world? Why would you be here? If I could be anywhere, I wouldn't be here. And you're trying to get here? And so I grabbed, I said, what do you got there? I pulled this piece of paper. I was very arrogant. Like, what? Oh, my gosh, you're like a Jesus freak, huh? That's all we knew. Back in the Jesus movement, I was like, this is 1973, Jesus freak. A religious nut. I said, oh, my gosh. Like a Mooney or something? He goes, no, not that. And he starts to share with me the gospel. Now, he's telling me that he's showing me a throne in my life right here, and that there's a cross out there, and there's a big E on the throne. And he said, that's your ego, right? He said, so who would you say, where's Jesus in your life? Is he on the throne of your heart, or is he? I go, well, I guess maybe he's not on the throne. He goes, okay, all right. So he's off. He's not there, right? He said, so, and it showed, and it circles around, there's a lot of chaos. He said, and you really are longing for a greater order and harmony, and something's missing. I said, yeah, well, yeah. He said, then he shows his throne with a cross on it. He said, that's when you invite Jesus in your heart. Now, I don't know. I was raised in church all those years. Nobody ever explained it to me that way. It's like, huh. All right. Makes sense. Now, while he's talking to me, I've got this pack of wolves forming. It's December 1973, Valley Forge, where Washington was, Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. Snowballs are getting packed. Now, unfortunately, this guy brought his apprentice with him who doesn't have anyone talking to him. And so he's getting snowballs. He's taking a beating. And he's watching over my shoulder, his buddy, but he's got a live fish hanging here, so he's willing to stick with me. And I'm saying, you see, this is the kind of hostile environment here. The natives are a little restless. I think it's time, you're a nice guy. I get it. You're like you mean well. That's no problem there. Let's escort you off the campus. Now, I was a non-commissioned officer, so I had some rank. So every guy was being polite with me. But they weren't going to be polite long. So they're all packing their snowballs for this guy. Now, I swear, there's only maybe 2% of an academy is made up of rich kid juveniles, which would be young people whose father had enough money to send them to a military school to straighten them out, but they really needed to be in a reform school. And Michael Geary was our campus juvenile. The guy just needed deliverance, is what he needed. So Michael Geary, out of a whole campus, comes at this moment. It's like a chick track. So Michael Geary goes up to the second floor, gets a bucket of water, and dumps it on the guy who's evangelizing me at that moment. Now, this water comes down, soaks him wet. While he's explaining to me, I said to him, well, what do you want me to do? And he's saying to me, pray. I said, pray? Here? In front of them? He said, yeah. And what was happening for me was, at that moment, I was having my aha, which is the fact that I didn't know that I didn't even know that I wasn't a Christian. I thought I was because I grew up in church. I didn't know that I wasn't a Christian until that moment when I was embarrassed to identify myself with Jesus in front of my peer group. At that moment, I knew he was telling the truth, and this was a real transaction, and I was too proud to do the right thing in front of my friends for fear that I would be persecuted along with Jesus. And in that moment, I was like the shame of my human condition. Now I knew I am a sinner. Up until then, I didn't think I was, actually. So it's like, oh my God, man, what's wrong with me? Why would I be afraid? Why would I be ashamed of associating? I must not be. At that moment, the water comes down. The guy's soaking wet. I look up at the window, and there's Michael Geary, and they're all laughing. Sinister. The guy's wet. It's freezing cold. Winter. Guy's getting snowballs over here. It's like all hell's breaking loose. I'm going, what in the world is going on here? He says to me, he says, look, he said, this is a message that has had people crucified, drowned, burned alive for 2,000 years. This is really nothing. He said, I'm willing to talk to you if you're interested in listening to me. Now, and here I am in like the pre-West Point Leadership Academy, surrounded by leadership training, and I'm looking at the most marvelous specimen of leadership, 1 year older than me. And I'm looking at my pack of animals, and him, wet, cold, and focused on helping me make a connection. And when he said, I'm willing to deal with this if you're willing to listen, I was done. That was it. I had met real leadership. And I knew this is the real kind of leadership that I admire, and this stuff here is not leadership. So I prayed with him in that moment. I got born again in that moment. Now, I didn't know what born again was. I just felt like I needed to have the courage to pray in front of these guys. So it's like, all right, what do you want to do? So I'm trying to say the prayer. I'm looking up. I'm praying the prayer. I'm doing my best to be courageous. When I get to the end of the prayer, which is, come into my heart and forgive my sins and make me into the man you want me to be, something like that. At the end of that, something comes into me. Now, I wasn't looking for an experience because I was rather distracted by all of this carnival going on. But something came in. Now, I didn't know that, like to the Hebrews, it would be called the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, an actual substance, an actual transformation, an actual something happens physiologically. Your spirit in the Bible gets regenerated. A part of you gets changed. Amen. It's not like, this is my religion, like you're a Buddhist, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Christian. It's like something happens. You actually have the Spirit of Christ comes into you, and you're not born with it. You actually have to invite it. So in that moment, I went, whoa. And it's like, what the heck was that? Because I felt like something came in. Something changed. I felt this warmth. And he looks at me and he goes, Jesus just came into your heart. And it's the first time I heard that language. And it didn't sound like a greeting card. It's like, Jesus came into your heart. It was just like, no. Oh, my God. Yeah, something just came. It's like I had, I don't want to say a drug, but it was an experience. So he said, well, we need to follow this up, And I said, buddy, you have no idea how that's not going to happen. He said, how you got here, I don't know. Where you're going, I know they're going to. And at that moment, campus police grab him by the armpits, him and his other guy, and they're dragged with their feet this way. Because I remember I saw the streaks in the snow of their shoes. They were dragged off. I haven't met the guy to this day. He has no idea what he did. No idea. But he left, and I'm walking around with that little piece of paper. And I didn't know what happened. I thought it was like an incantation. I kept on trying to get guys to say that prayer and say, hey, watch what happens, man. Say these words. Sir, Dan, come on, Dan, come here. Trust me. You say those, watch what happens. And like, it was obviously the method wasn't working. They're all going, nothing's happened. It's like, oh man, what did he do with me? I'm trying to figure this out. That's all I knew, as far as I got.